endless stream of like incumbents kind of like poo-pooing some like new tech like upstart. But how big that upstart is, like when Apple enters the watch industry laughs. And they don't even think like, oh yeah, Apple has a store like in every country. Like Apple has way more stores than we have. they could come out with a crappy product, just put it next to the register, and they're still going to blow us out, which is what they did.
Yeah.
And like Apple became
number 2.
They became the number 2 watch company in the world within like 6 months of releasing the Apple Watch, simply by just putting it on the shelf and making it an option for people to trip over.
Right.
Like the same thing's going to happen. Like I was talking to 2 FedEx. People who came by our office, like those account executives, and we were talking about like, oh, Amazon is entering logistics, and they were just like, oh yeah, we talk about the 2 all the time. Well, here's the deal: we've been doing delivery for a long time. We have a whole big logistics framework. It's very complicated and expensive. And I was just thinking, and then I said, like, that's literally what Amazon does. Their wheelhouse is big, complicated, expensive industries. That's where very few play. So Amazon's going to enter that space
and destroy it and
by the
win.
way, who's going to build a better logistics company that serves e-commerce better from scratch? Like Amazon with like unlimited money, or UPS kind of like pivoting into it, or FedEx pivoting into it? Like
they're never gonna cannibalize their current business to build a new one, right? And I think that's why when you're entering a new space that you're not into, and you're a company like Amazon that has successfully shown it, and they're motivated, their own shipping itself is the reason for them to do it.
How big is the shipping industry? How big is the industry of taking something from point A to point B?
How big is Amazon's that, right? Like, forget everyone else. If they just build their own, and they stop using FedEx and UPS, are they the second biggest?
They're the biggest customer for both. Like, they're the biggest client. And
so if they stop, are they the biggest just on their own? Like, because that's...
They were their biggest.
If they can solve their own problem, and that's what they did. Like, they solved their own problem with Amazon Web Services, and then they give it, like, they sold it to other people.
Yeah, now it makes a shit ton of money. I do have another thing about Mars, though, that I wanted to bring up. So, like, I know Elon's trying to go to Mars and put, like, a colony over there. I read this thing, actually, where somebody was talking about how we should not actually be going to Mars, we should be going to the moon.
Yeah.
And we should be colonizing the moon, and there's a bunch of great points, and I don't know if you guys read this or...
I tweeted it at Elon. I was like...
Maybe that's where I saw it.
Any comments?
That's probably where it happened.
I was hoping he might...
Dude,
have a rebuttal.
Mars in 10 years, but, like, moon tomorrow.
Well, because this guy made a good...
The points were super valid, right? It was
I don't remember what they were, so I hope you do.
There were a couple of points. One is there is no atmosphere on Mars, and the atmosphere actually is the reason we're alive.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, that's one big thing. Second thing is the moon is right here, and Mars is way over there. We can get to the moon, we can refuel the moon, we can do all of this stuff very quickly, and we'll fuck up our colony, but this one will be like the test one where we'll get it all right here, and then we can like go to the next one and the next one.
We can consider going to Mars every few years, right? Because we have to be like in that right alignment.
Correct.
Yeah.
See, this one is you have the same fixed distance year round, right? You can always get to it.
Right.
And
didn't he also say like going to Mars from the moon is just a better option than going from
Correct. He was saying that then you can use the moon as a deployment space. And the second question I have is, well, Mars has some interesting minerals, right? Like they have water, I guess, right? There's ice, so you can kind of get water out of that. I don't know what...
They probably have precious metals, too.
Yeah, there's probably a ton of precious metals. But, like, okay, if you're going to go there, then build this giant dome where we're going to live in, why not just put that in space, right? Like, why can't it just float?
Right.
Like,
why do we need to be on Mars?
Yeah, why do we need to be anywhere? Why can't we just be floating around things?
Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, like you know, the International Space Station. It's a good example. Are they bigger? Can we make like the giant version of that? It's like an apartment complex. We all just move over there, right? Like what? Why do we need to plan it? I guess is my question.
Bezos was talking about like that's where we should be putting our power. Like we should put power generation in space.
Yeah.
We can make an infinitely large, ultra nuclear, super crazy, some new process.
And how do you get it down? You beam it down or something?
Yeah. Lasers.
Batteries.
Batteries are dropped.
It all goes back into little batteries.
We get shit back.
So for you, when you read that,
I was like,
did that change your opinion on it?
Yeah, I did. I was like, this makes a ton of sense. And what he's not saying is don't go to Mars. He's saying the path to Mars, there's a better one than going directly.
Right.
And I always like that. I like incremental path. And it makes sense. The moon is right there. You can do it. There's no harm in getting to it. Like, we've done it. Maybe, I guess we had one issue. But, like, we've done it many times, getting, kind of there. Landing is easier than Mars. I don't know. Seems like no-brainer.
Do you think you will go to space in your lifetime?
That'd be cool.
Do you think space tourism is going to be a real thing? Space tourism?
I mean, okay, so like he's trying to... Elon said $100,000 you can go to Mars, right? Like
200,000.
200,000?
There's going to be people that can break that off. And
yeah. It's
Well,
gonna
already people are buying the Virgin Galactic ticket.
happen. Which didn't they scrap Virgin Galactic?
I think they pushed it back. I think it's happening. It's just happening now, not last
Yeah.
year.
I had one of my roommates was the assistant to the director of NASA, and one of the things they worked on was low orbit satellite deployment. And he said the whole space tourism thing is a ruse, and it's basically sort of a way to bring a lot of attention to the space industry, private space industry. But the real play is like the decatrillion potential for flying up and deploying satellites quickly. So satellites are getting commoditized, they're getting cheaper. More businesses are
I
going
think
to want
there's
to have
two
their own.
things. There's precious minerals that we're gonna mine the shit out of every planet.
It's just gonna be like bungee jumping.
Correct. Energy, right? Like that's the other one. Like it's even solar, way more effective in space than it is down here. You don't lose all of it through the atmosphere. You can be out there, you can collect it, you can then deliver that back, and then if the other part is it can very easily go up and down, right? Like if I have this like Tesla power wall that's sitting in space, right, and then it comes down and powers 10,000 homes for a week, and then a new one gets deployed next week and the next week, that seems like a good plan, right? Like there's a ton that like I think could be done kind of on that side. So I agree. Low orbit, getting in and out, what Elon's doing with like the $25 a pound to space, like that makes a ton of sense.
When Elon did a really great interview with Sam Altman at like the Wall Street Journal or like the Recode conference, one of those sort of like media publication has an event, we're bringing thinkers together, that's how we make money now. Everyone does it. He was asked about like, well, what would you be doing if you weren't doing this? And the one that he landed on was basically genes. Like I wanted to get into gene editing. That's going to be the next $10 trillion industry. We need like that's going to be the straightest path to curing disease, living forever, ... We've talked about this at lunch a few times, but like, what do we think like the order of operations is going to be for? We've got gene editing technology. How does humanity deal with it, like having this capability?
The problem I see is that there's like just like with every one of the breakthrough technologies, there's so much potential for like not just the regulation, but really also just the genuine like wrong use of
Like
some
evil,
of these things.
right? Like
Yeah, exactly. Like the more powerful it gets, the more potential it can be used for evil. The same way, like nuclear, there was a figuring out process. There's a figuring out process for all of these. Self-driving cars goes through it, and like with these, how do you even get to the point where it's tested and works?
It's like, holy shit! I only have fast twitch muscles.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Like,
I
oh,
can't move.
Sport is ruined, and like, but diseases are cured. And like, well, how are we going to reconcile that? And like, we have a hard enough time with like, I don't know, some very basic things that I just wonder. I wonder how this happens where it's like it's only interesting to me when it's like in the mainstream. It's like
look, let's
fun
just
to talk
make
about,
it.
but it's
Let's just
real
make
work.
it so I'm not bald, right? Let's get rid of like little simple things
So a few
first.
things first. No one
Yeah, people talking about living forever. It's like you can't fix the normal shit. Let's get to the normal stuff that we all have a problem with. Like, why do I get cavities?
This is the moon.
Like, why do you get cavities? Like, why does that happen?
Make my farts smell like bacon.
There you go.
Yeah.
Genetically modified farts.
There you go.
Giraffes.
Perfect.
Make my
Giraffes.
boogers edible.